we started off on this and we said that as you start the new school year, don't be afraid, okay? Whatever might come up, you don't have to be afraid of whatever it is, okay? And we also said that when you are afraid, the key is to run to God and not remain in fear. And so we were looking at a lot of different examples, and most of the examples of people from the Bible that we looked at, they did what?
Ran.
There we go. Yes, they sissied out. They ran. All right. But there were two examples that we looked at where the people did something different. What did they do? What did they do about it?
Prayed.
They prayed about it. Sorry, what was the question?
Okay. They did something about it. They had faith and they prayed. Okay? Were they scared? Yeah. We looked at the example of Hezekiah and how Hezekiah was actually afraid of the Assyrian army that had marched up to his gate. And yet, he prayed about it. And God took care of it for him. Okay? What are some other examples that you guys can remember that we discussed last week of people that were afraid in the Bible? Not Ghostbusters. The fleece.
Yes, fleece.
Yeah. Gideon and the fleece. Yep. Yeah, and there were a lot of different examples with Gideon, right? Because Gideon is told what to do, and he's scared to do it, and then he's told by the angel, go and destroy the altar, and he doesn't do that when he's supposed to. And then he... good grief, there's a lot of different examples. He doesn't want to go to the army, he wants to take a full army, God tells him to take 300. All kinds of things in Gideon's life where he becomes a coward and he doesn't do what he's supposed to do. What else do you guys remember?
It's like a bunch, just can't remember the names.
Okay. Do you remember anything about the stories? Like Hudson remembered that there was a fleece in one.
Say so now.
Okay. Alright.
What's the one? Alright. It's maybe like completely wrong. But with like the burning pot between the two animals, wasn't he like getting real afraid? And then God was like, dude, don't do it. Then this is my fate.
Yeah, he wasn't actually afraid, but you could probably say he was afraid, but it was more just like, that was Abraham, who was waiting for the promise to be fulfilled of a son and all these other blessings that God had promised him. And so he keeps going, and right before that incident, God comes up to him. Abraham's trying to say to God, okay, what's the guarantee that this is going to happen? What are we looking at here? Why am I waiting so long? It seems like this is taking a lot longer than I expected. And so that's when God signs the covenant for him and says, I will be faithful. All right? So, that's all right. You remember the story. That's good. There you go. Don't be afraid. All right, what else? Huh?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
About the armies that were like little and then when it became a big army.
Yeah.
David and Goliath.
Yeah, David and Goliath. We looked at Hezekiah against the Assyrian army. We looked at Gideon with his 300. We've looked at David, who consistently went out there with fewer numbers and defeated bigger armies. There was the Battle of Jehoshaphat and the three kings that he goes up against, and he arrives in the valley where they're all supposed to be waiting, and all three armies are dead. It's pretty funny. So, all right. So yeah, we discussed a couple different examples in the Bible, but then we actually looked at some things that you guys said that you were afraid of, and you can really break it down into these three sections here of general school fear, so being around strange people, bullies, getting the grades, and not fitting in. We said there were some fears specific to school of being judged for your faith and peer pressure to do wrong things. And then there were some general faith fears of sharing the faith and God's anger. So we're going to hit each of these three over the next 3 weeks. And so tonight we're going to start with school fears. So we're going to hit each of these by addressing it and then responding to it. All right? So, being around a crowd of strange people, what's scary about, or what terrifies you about being around a crowd of strange people? Yeah. What?
In school.
They could what?
Oh.
Stolen.
All right. I mean, this doesn't just have to be about school. I mean, if you're not the type of person that likes being around a large crowd of people, and then like Abby loves being around large crowds of people. But if you're not like that, all right, if you're not like that, what would be some things that would make you nervous or apprehensive about being in a large crowd of people?
Well, it says right there they're strange, so that's
Okay.
one thing.
Tiny.
Tiny?
What? Like they're small.
They're small?
No, I'm small.
Oh, you feel small when you're in a large crowd. Okay, that's good. Okay.
Hey, I'm just saying. I feel
that-
other people.
No,
Good.
I can actually relate to that, okay?
But I'm tall. I'm relating for him. He's tiny.
No, but I can relate to that because here's the thing: if you're the kind of person that does not like being in a large crowd of people, then when you're in a large crowd of people that you don't know, you feel really small.
Like the hood. Like you're gonna get shot.
What? Okay, being judged. Okay.
People in crowds can judge people.
Yeah.
And they make you feel small.
See, tiny. Yeah, and sometimes, okay, yeah. So sometimes you can look at the crowd and they can seem strange, but then sometimes you can be worried that you feel strange to them. All right. Anything else?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. How so?
Just like being around people you don't know or don't fit in with or don't talk to. It's kind of hard to like strike a conversation.
Yeah.
Do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
It's bad for people that are claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Just get like really paranoid.
Yeah.
This might sound weird, but like with all the public shootings that go on now, you never know what's going to happen in a large group.
No, it makes sense. It's sad, but it makes sense.
Y'all hear about that thing in town?
Cows.
Oh yeah, those guys were training those kids to go shoot up people.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
There's
they,
like a
there was like 4 or 5
there's
adults.
like a compound and the adults were teaching the kids to shoot up schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to look it
It
up.
was like,
And the judge let him off with a $20,000 bond.
that's like 2 hours.
It's 6.
That's crazy. Okay.
2 hours. No, it was like times 3.
All right.
Plus 4.
So, all right. So let's see here. Yeah. So let's try and start addressing some of these fears and like actually responding to it. Okay. So, you guys mentioned just like the sheer amount of people can sometimes be intimidating. And how would you address that? Raise your hand if you feel totally comfortable in a large crowd of strange people.
I honestly don't care.
All right.
I think you have to look at it as an opportunity. In any type of fears, the girls I talked about that before is when we're out, we have an opportunity to be people, and so
Yeah.
to conquer your fears, you have to face it. And I think that if you're an introvert, to be somewhat extroverted, you have to be able to be the first person to talk to somebody and show a friendship that you're capable of. I think, but you know.
All right. So yeah, and Abby actually hits on exactly what I usually end up doing, which is if you're in a large crowd of people and you do not feel comfortable being in a large crowd of people that you don't know, my trick is zero in on one person. Okay? What?
Zero in on one person in the crowd. Oh,
Yeah.
just start talking to
Yeah.
Just I'd be like, don't stop.
No. It's not. Okay, I'm not saying grief. Alright. What I'm not saying is zero in on one person and like follow them around wherever they go, okay? What I'm saying is part of the reason that a big crowd feels so intimidating is because it's a big crowd. Alright? You start breaking it into smaller chunks. Okay? So, for example, at Encounter this year, I went to lunch with the rest of the youth ministers. Didn't know a soul. But I happened to talk to one guy, found out he was the youth minister at Woodward, where David Heflin now preaches. We started talking, and then somebody else came by, and then we started connecting. And so now I've got 2 or 3 different people that I can connect with at Encounter. And so that's one thing that you can do, is you can break the problem down. Go to one person and find that one person and just start trying to talk to them. All right? Now, you may find that you have nothing in common with that one person. What do you do then? Okay. And that's really one of the things that you guys kind of have here, is that they're going to seem strange or it's uncomfortable because you don't know what to talk about. But Maddie brings up a perfect point of how to address that. If I'm not comfortable talking, what does that mean I need to do? Huh? You can open up some more, or you can get them to do what? You can get them to talk. Follow them around. Yeah. No. Alright. Here's the thing. Do you guys like it when somebody listens to what you enjoy doing, or what you like doing, or participating in, or whatever? Alright? There's a reason for that. It's because we all like being able to share something about ourselves. We all like being able to kind of, say the stuff that we're good at. Okay? And so when you get people talking about what they're passionate about or what they're good at, then they're going to do more of the talking for you. Alright? So, make sure that you're engaging them in the conversation. Don't dominate it. Alright? So, if I'm trying to have a conversation with Weston, but I'm the one doing all the talking, what do I need to do? What? Let them talk. Stop every once in a while. Ask a question. Let them talk. Alright? Maybe the person doesn't respond a whole lot. Ask them engaging questions. Ask a question that they cannot get away with just a yes or no with. Okay? So,
Do you mind if I add something to that?
Sure.
So when I went to the same school, we're kind of on this, we're on the Abilene Christian campus. So it's a humongous place, and we're only meeting the person that we're in the same, I don't know what you call that, the apartment with. But when I went to my song leading class, there were a whole bunch of kids that were my age. And I kind of, at first, was very, very shy, which happens to me when I meet new people. But after a while, I kind of decided, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to introduce myself. So I just kind of introduced myself to each of them as we went through the day. And I kind of got better at being around them, and I actually made a friend while I was there. And whenever we had free time or anything like that, we mostly spent it together. Or whatever we were doing. If we were in a class together, we sat next to each other, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But it was an important thing for me to do, especially because it's a cool, different environment.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing that you guys put up there was you're worried that you might be judged. Okay? So, the biggest way to address that is the verse that we looked at last week. Alright? For God did not give us a spirit of... What?
Timid.
Timidity. Yep. But a spirit of what?
Fearlessness.
Courage.
You can do that. Yeah. I like that.
Thank you. What's the actual word?
The actual word is power.
Power.
But what else could you put in there? I mean, I like this. Fearlessness, courage. What else? What kind of spirit does God give us?
Determination.
There you go.
Thanks, man. Use my stomach to put that.
All right. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, or fearlessness, of courage, or determinism. All right? So, if you're worried about being judged, remember that you have the Spirit with you. You don't have to be afraid. You can get the strength of God to get you to push through. Okay? And now here's the thing. You might go up to that person and start trying to have a conversation, and they may be absolutely stonewalling you, okay? They might be like Weston and just stare at you, okay? Or they may just not be showing any interest in the conversation, all right? If you're in a large crowd of people, just go to the next person, all right? Just go to the next person and
Stop in the middle of the conversation. Sorry.
all right? But yeah, just you don't have to sit there and try and keep engaging somebody that is clearly not interested. Okay? And here's something that I've learned from Abby is that with a lot of people, if you sit there and make yourself really available, then typically speaking, they're going to start pulling away from you. And if you all of a sudden say, okay, I'm going to pull back for a while and just say, okay, I'm going to let them have their space, they're going to go, hey, no, you're supposed to keep chasing me. And so they'll start chasing you. All right? So, whoops. There we go. All right. All right. Next thing, bullies. Let's address the fear. What is it we're afraid of with bullies?
Be an upstander.
An upstander? What's an upstander?
Hey, that's not right. Like that.
Bystander, like you watch.
Beat you up.
Yeah, so when you bystander, be
Up.
an upstander.
Like you
Yeah.
stand.
Oh, okay.
Like you stand up.
So the fear is being an upstander?
Oh, no, I was just
That's
saying
being a
that
Down
word.
All right.
My fear is becoming
Becoming one. Okay.
one.
My stomach.
All right. What are some other things that you guys? What are some other things you guys worry about with bullies?
For me, it's basically getting jumped.
Getting jumped. Okay.
Young. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Jumping me.
Hey, that's scary.
All right. What else?
Getting embarrassed.
Getting embarrassed. Okay.
Getting more people involved.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Like if one person's making fun of you, another.
And then more people start
more
piling
people
it up.
just follow them and start making fun. It's gonna be proud.
Then you just don't look that big crowd of crazy people.
And it just hammers you. You know what to do?
Okay.
Like an armadillo.
All right. What else? Or is there anything else, guys? I know, but it's all three of you right now. All right. Anything else?
Like, I'm fear of standing up.
Okay. All right. So, now how do you respond to it?
Bully.
Yeah.
You upstander.
Be an upstander. All right.
Like to other people or to yourself?
Like for yourself, if somebody's bullying you, how do you respond to that fear?
Stand up to.
Not afraid.
Okay. Yeah, and a lot of it, I think you got twisted more, Allie. There you go.
What's going on?
I guess you could be the bigger person and not hit them back. That could be,
Yeah.
that gets you out of saves, keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And it just shows them who's the bigger person.
Yeah.
And it won't be the most ideal thing, but whenever you're being bullied and someone hits you, you just want to hit them back. Basically.
Yeah.
Forgive them.
Okay. Yeah.
Finger and say, halt. I'm not doing this to you.
It's like when you said becoming one, try not to let yourself start thinking that way. Oh, they wear glasses, so they're
Hey.
sorry. That's all bully would do like that. No, I'm sorry.
Stereotyping.
I'm just saying.
And you look really cute.
Yeah, your
I
glasses
don't
look
think
nice.
you look very Oh my goodness, today we were in class,
Oh,
and
God.
there was this kid in my class, and he was like, I thought he was talking, and then my teacher was like, covering his face because he couldn't see the glare. He couldn't see he was talking because of the glare, and then he was like, because our teacher's bald, so he was like, I have a glare all the time when I look at you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, go up there, you know?
It's
It
okay.
was way funnier in the situation. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's story to tell.
That's a
Sorry,
right
and
there.
I'm kind of annoyed.
I
I guess just
Alright.
think about it.
I realized that was a bad story after I read
It's alright.
it.
I guess just don't let your thoughts get that way.
Like, you're not even that bald. You have hair.
Alright, we're past.
Okay.
We're past
Essentially.
Oh my.
Alright, so we've said address it. We've said walk away. Right? And yeah, I mean, it's definitely, the verse that we just looked at over there is definitely still something that applies. God didn't give us a spirit of timidity. He gave us a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. Okay? And I think especially in that case, the spirit of love and self-discipline really add to that spirit of power, because it reminds us to address it, but to address it in love and in self-discipline of not wanting to lash out like we want to, but to do it in the right way. Yeah, Reagan.
I think, like, walking away sometimes doesn't help, because, like, it didn't help me, and, like, whenever it happened, I just, like, I kept walking away, and then finally I just, like, told somebody about it, and then
Yeah.
I got taken care of.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing that I wanted to bring up too, is that there's different levels of bullying or abuse and ways to handle that. Okay? Because if somebody's attacking you for your faith, that's a whole other situation. All right? If you go to Luke, nope, not there. Where'd it go? Okay, well, apparently I did not put it in here, and I thought I did. It's in Acts 4 when Peter and John are being brought into the Sanhedrin. Okay? They've already been addressed by the Sanhedrin once and were dismissed. Now they're doing it again, and they really made the Sanhedrin upset, the ruling Jewish authorities. Okay? So they finally let them go, but they have them beat before they let them go. And you guys remember how Peter and John leave when they get done. Are they sitting there crying and going, what are they doing?
Rejoicing.
Yeah. Yeah. They're rejoicing because they were counted worthy of suffering for the name of Jesus. Alright? So if somebody is attacking you or harassing you for your faith, there's a level of which you can sit there and go, man, I don't care for the fact that they're attacking me for my faith or attacking me at all, but at least they're attacking me for the fact that I am following Jesus. All right? But there's other levels there. All right? If somebody's physically assaulting you, all right, you got to stop it. I'm not saying hit them, but you got to get away from the situation. And if it continues, then yeah, you do need to address it. You do need to bring it up to an authority, whether it's a parent or teacher, or principal, or if you have to, get the police involved to keep that person away from you. You don't have to put up with abuse, and that goes for if you ever get into a situation where your parents are abusing you, or if you get into a situation where your boyfriend or girlfriend is abusing you. All right? You don't have to put up with that. You still want to treat the person in love, but you don't have to stay there. All right? So, when we're talking about handling verbal or physical confrontation for people that are attacking us because of our faith, we're responding in love and patience and submission. And we're doing it because that's exactly what Jesus did. Jesus goes into the trial before the Pharisees and the high priests, and they're mocking him the entire time. And what does he do?
Respond to kindness.
Yeah. I mean, he answers their questions, but he stays quiet. They get done with their verbal harassment and questioning of him, and they start walking up to him. They're smacking him and hitting him, and they're saying, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And what does he do? Nothing. He's the God of the universe, and the Romans start whipping him. And it's not just a whip, it's that thing that's got the glass shards and metal and everything else built into the strands of the whip. There's 3 or more of them on this whip, and they keep hitting his back with it over and over. And what does he do? They put him on the cross. And the Pharisees and the religious leaders are still harassing him. It's not enough that he's in physical agony, but now they're sitting there saying, "If he is the Son of God, let him come down." And what's Jesus say? "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." He has every right to say, "God, I'm going to go through this, but we're going to smite them, right? Right? Yeah? You're going to, we're going to bring a nice little meteorite on their head, right?" But no, he says, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." There's a level of which, when people harass us for our faith, that we need to respond in love and in forgiveness and mercy, because that's what we've been shown. All right? We're going to have that tendency that when somebody tries to shove us or tries to attack us or harass us, we're going to want to do what? Respond in kind. You're going to want to start decking. All right? But here's the thing. That kind of a response is a worldly response. It's a broken, fallen world response. And Jesus calls us to a higher standard. When people attack us, he wants us to live the example that he set forth, and to turn the other cheek, and to show them that we love them. All right? As we're going through 1 Peter, we're talking about specifically going through suffering, and that we're to endure it. We're to remain in holy living examples, specifically so that people can see that and turn to God because of it. All right? So, some methods of responding to bullies. If I go up to Weston and I start just harassing him left and right, what are some things you can do? What are some actual steps that you can take in that moment? You can ask him to stop. I mean,
I was told, like, if they, like, start saying bad things about you, just be like, oh, alright. Like, not admitting to it or, like, telling them to stop or anything. Just gonna take it. Yeah.
Because then they realize they're not hurting you.
Yeah.
Or you just say thank you.
It sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you guys, along that same line, when somebody's verbally harassing you, something that you can do is literally say, I love you. You're going to throw them so off course. Alright? And that might just ramp them up. Okay? It might continue to draw that anger because they're seeing that you're not responding to it. They want to get a response out of you. But instead you're saying, I love you. Why do people act that way?
Jealousy.
Yeah. There's a lot of different things that could be going on. One thing that you learn going into ministry is the fact that sometimes people attack you just because they've got other stuff going on in their life and they just need to be able to vent. Alright? So if you're talking about somebody that's outside the church that starts attacking you and just blowing up on you, absolutely continue to show them that you love them. And if they come up to you afterwards and just kind of say, dude, I'm so sorry. I was totally out of line. I just been having a really bad day, and whatever it was that you did set me off, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Alright? You say, appreciate the apology. I still love you. If it's a brother or sister in Christ that's doing this to you, that's just on, and then they come up to you afterwards, and they're like, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, just say, you know what? We're good. I still love you. But hey, let's find a way for us to work on that. Because losing it like that isn't Christ-like.
I think the way you look at the relationships with other people is how you look at your relationship with God. If you can't treat God and forgive Him your time, you're not going to... It's going to be really hard for you to commit to other people in your life. And I think a great way to look at that is Christ tells us to look at the church, and look at the marriage between God and church, like we do in our own marriage, you know. And so, if we look at all relationships like that, though, I mean, you're going to carry that personality in any relationship you really are in.
Yeah.
And I think if your life with Christ is solid, you don't really have to worry much about the rest of your relationships because you're going to want to implement that relationship with them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to physical confrontation, alright? If somebody's attacking you for your faith, generally speaking, the scriptures seem to suggest the idea of, you know, be joyful that somebody is noticing you for your faith and is trying to stop you. Okay? But at the same time, there's still a fine line there. Paul is getting ready to be killed by the Jews when he is in the temple after he gets done with a missionary journey. Romans finally come in there and they swoop him in and grab him, they take him out. He addresses the crowd and they're still about ready to kill him. And so the Romans put him on a rack or something and they're about ready to start beating him. And Paul says what? Are you really going to beat a Roman citizen? And they all start backing away. They're like, ooh, no, I do not want to do that. He could have had it. He could have allowed himself to be beaten. He'd done it plenty of times before, but he chooses in that moment for a very specific reason to say no. Alright? So no, you don't have to every single time take a beating for your faith. Be mindful of it. Is you taking a blow going to advance the kingdom? Alright? Look at the examples of the people that are out there trying to spread the message in places that it's illegal. They could strike back, but instead they allow themselves to be injured. So you got to pray for wisdom on that. Alright, getting the grade, staying on track. What are the fears there?
Put yourself in a hole you can't dig yourself out of.
Okay.
Digging too deep in the hole. Amen.
Okay. What else?
Maybe probably that you're not understanding what you're learning, and so when it comes to the homework and the assignments, you don't pass.
Okay.
So you're not getting grades.
Okay. Alright. What else?
You're letting other people drag you down and not staying on track.
Alright. How many of you guys get worried that if you don't keep up with your grades, you won't get into the college program that you're looking to get into? Okay. Alright. So, let's respond to it. How do you fix that?
Can I have one more?
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to add anything. So
That's all right.
I know you're in that room, but one thing I've seen though is like when you get bad grades, sometimes you bring your friends home and bring you bad grades.
Okay.
And that's just one thing.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you respond to it?
You just with the not understanding, you work harder, you study more, you do the extra problems. You ask your teacher what you can do to help you more understand.
Yeah.
Part of my problem is staying in class.
Staying in the class?
Not showing up and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. We just studied this probably just 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. It is Ephesians 6, 7 through 9. Get it open here. Alright. Ephesians 6, 7 through 9 says this: Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not men, because you know that the Lord will reward everyone for whatever good he does, whether he is slave or free. It should just be 7 through 8, excuse me. Okay, so part of it is going to be setting your priorities. Okay? When you're doing anything, whether it's sports, school, your job, whether it's doing stuff at home, you need to do it with everything that you've got. Okay? Now, are all of you math wizards?
I'm not.
Are all of you history wizards?
No.
No. Alright? Some people, and I think part of the reason that you guys get into these fears is because you look at people around you that are just acing stuff left and right with with seemingly no issues. Okay? But you've got to remember, you are not that person. You are your own person. God has gifted you in your own ways, and so you are skilled in what God has made you skilled with. Now, that's not to sit there and say, well, I just, don't like math, so I'm not skilled at math, and therefore I'm just going to fail it. No. You give it everything you've got. And even if everything that you've got, going through all the tutoring and everything else that you can do, still only lands you a C or a B, you gave it everything. Okay? And so, the other thing to remember is, it's not the end of the world if you don't end up doing sports for the rest of your life. Okay? It's not the end of the world if you don't make it to college. If you want to make it to college, work at it. But there are plenty of people out there that make an excellent living for themselves, never having gone to college. Alright? And I'm not just sitting there saying just be satisfied with going and, being a fast food worker at McDonald's or Taco Bell or something like that. Although if that's all it takes for you to get by in life and you're completely excited by that, go for it. But I mean, there are like skilled positions that you can get where you can make a good amount of money without having gone to college. All right, not understanding it. Again, the biggest thing is do your best, and if it means you need to cut back on some stuff, then be wise in how you're spending your time. All right. And how you're spending your time on your phone. Okay, so getting the grades, staying on track. All right, not fitting in. Real quick, what are some things that we fear about not fitting in?
Not fitting in.
The fear of not being.
Not being cool enough. What else?
Not feeling good enough.
Not feeling good enough. All right. What else?
Not being friends with normal.
All right. Look, as far as not being cool enough or not being good enough, you guys need to remember this, that you are enough. All right? If you are doing the absolute best that you can, as long as you're not short selling yourself, you're good enough. You don't have to sit there and worry yourself about, am I fitting in with this group of people? Ask yourself who that group of people is. If it's a group of people that are more concerned about getting drunk or getting high or doing other things that don't line up with God, then does it matter if you're not cool enough. Alright? If for whatever reason you're ever in a church environment where you're having to sit in there and say to yourself, I don't think I'm cool enough, one of two things is happening. Either A, you're underselling yourself, alright, and you're not realizing that they're just as weird and goofy as you are, or B, they really are treating you that way, and they shouldn't be. Alright? So, make sure to address it, and not being friends with the popular kids. It's the same thing. If the popular group is the one that's doing all this stuff that you don't need to be doing as part of your example of Christ, don't sweat it. Because you'll have a kid one day that will be so proud of her pink paper with glue on it. And she will think you're awesome. Alright? So, for tonight. This world is going to present challenges to us, but we can trust in the God who's not just for us, but within us. All right? He's not just for us, he's within us. He's within each and every one of you. All right. Announcements. Sunday, back to school bash. I need you guys here at 1 o'clock, so go get lunch and then come back so we can get the water balloons filled. If you guys have some of those barrel drums or whatever, like we put the water balloons in last time out at the Chandler place, bring those along so we can store. Yeah, great job, kiddo. So we can store the water balloons, and then make sure to bring clothes that you can get wet and get paint on. Bring a towel. All right, it's gonna get wet. And make sure to invite your friends. All right. Make sure to bring them because this will be a lot of fun. At 4 o'clock, we're gonna send some of you guys to help Buddy with the grilling, and then we're gonna have the rest work on getting the kitchen and all that set up. And then tonight, if you can stick around to help with packing the bags for dog days, we appreciate your help. So, all I got. You guys are loved. You guys are awesome. And you guys can do whatever it is you want to. You hear me?
I hear you.
All right. Yeah. What?